Hello. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to Crossover Sports Talk and Events LLC. I just wanted to mention that thank you guys for all joining. Everybody, once again, I'm back here again. I know it's been about a week. I was going to get my podcast back up, just got it all back up again, and going to be having more and more episodes coming on. Just going to have more guests as well coming on. I just wanted to catch up what's going on, with everybody and life in the sports world. Everything's been all good. The sports industry, what's going on in the NFL, what's going on in the NBA, as we see, it's pretty interesting, as to say at least, what's going on in this summer. We just had the World Cup ended. I know you guys did receive my special guest last week with my brother-in-law. Went pretty good. I hope you guys all enjoyed that. There was a lot to talk about into the soccer world, the space as well. I'm trying to incorporate, more and more things as we can go. It's just not just about, the NFL and the NBA, but many more different things as well as we can speak to. But as we go, I just wanted to mention some news that's been going around, and especially with my favorite team, with the San Francisco 49ers, I would say in the NFL offseason, there has been some news that went on, as over the past week, as they always, media and the darlings in the NFL with, along with Cowboys and other teams. But, Kyle Shanahan just had a pretty head coach Kyle Shanahan just had a pretty gruesome accident that was last week. And there was a lot of things going on. I didn't want to get too much into it, because that would be someone's personal life outside of football. Football would be completely secondary to compare to somebody's life, that happened. He did get into a pretty gruesome accident that was, from an SUV from a young female. And there was reports going out saying that it was her fault, that it was this and that. She ran into him on the intersection about a few miles away from his house, 6 miles away, in the Bay Area, Los Altos Hills area, downtown Palo Alto area. And apparently, they were saying all this. He had 40 stitches. Shanahan had a concussion, pretty severe concussion, broken ribs, broken hand, broken nose, and all that. Just thank God they're both alive. That's the most important thing. That was the main thing. So he went through all that, and he got through it. Thank God they all survived and everything. And it was pretty crazy, as it was reported about 11 to 12 days, I would say, after the incident. But since the incident happened, people were wondering, why was it reported 11 to 12 days after? It could have been shown a little bit before then, or like right away. We would want to run right at. People are saying it was fishy. I didn't want to get too much into it, as a fan, of the team and everything, being your favorite team growing up and everything. It was just pretty crazy. And then reports came later on, just a few days ago, that Shanahan apparently, brought the media into his office for about 20 minutes or 45 minutes, as reporters were reporting. They were tweeting, they were writing articles saying it was his fault. He took responsibility and accountability towards it, saying that, no, it was me. My phone fell in between the seats, and I was at a stoplight, and then I just went about 20 miles, and then I ran right into her, and then that the collision just was very severe. I just couldn't believe it. And he was like, no, it said it broke his heart that they were blaming the young female and everything, and they didn't look at the facts. And he said all the police reports and everything they were talking about, it wasn't reported, it wasn't factual behind it. So he put everything to bed with his opening up and speaking to the media and telling them everything, like, no, it wasn't it wasn't her fault, it was my fault. So he put that to bed. Shows on the character of the coach we have, of Kyle Shanahan. So moving forward from that, we did get news yesterday yesterday, about the news of Ricky Pearsall, about the receiver within the Niners, the third-year receiver, the first-round pick in 2024. We thought he was going to be the one to replace Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk. He has the lingering issue from his PCL of last season that was lingering, and he had a pretty good start to the first 4 weeks of the season. Like, he was leading the league in receiving yards and his one-on-one, man-to-man, how he can beat and shake defenders off and everything, and his footwork and his agility to get open and how Shanahan can scheme him open. He's been very good, but it was just his trouble of staying on the field, of staying healthy was just the issue. We know he is all talented to be on the field and become a great, a number one or potentially a number two, potentially a great number one receiver. And then incorporating him with the likes of Mike Evans, Christian Kirk, and Deshaun Stribling, the second round pick that they just added, the high second round pick that they just added this year from the draft from Ole Mississippi. So he's apparently going to miss the whole year. There's not reports out, but that's what they're expecting. For him to, it's concerning. Matt Mayoko read it like they're expecting him not to contribute at all this year. So it's pretty sad to see, possibly. And that's why they ended up signing Deebo Samuel today to a 1 year, up to $7 million deal, probably with incentives. So I think that's a big news for them, considering the fact that, he knows the system, the veteran leadership, and the chemistry he has with the players and how they want him back. And everyone was on Instagram or social media tweeting like, oh, we want him back. We want Deebo back, including the receivers too, knowing that can potentially be competition and whatnot on the team. But him signing back is pretty big. And I think it's going to bring more of like the leadership towards the team and continue to make the Niners as contenders heading into this 2026 season. So it's going to be very fun, very exciting to see. I think it's a good move. We should see how it goes. He looks in shape. He looks fit, from his workout videos and everything. So we hope everything goes well and, he stays healthy and the Niners stay healthy and they can have a good year. So that's what's pretty much been news that's been going around. The injury bug, what was saying was it's been floating around the Niners right now. So I just hope they stay healthy. They're about to have their first padded practice, I think tomorrow, or is it Saturday or Sunday? I forgot which day it was, but it's coming up soon, and players have been getting hurt. But Kellen Block, they said, looks good. The second string running back. Jordan James was hurt again with fractured ribs. They were saying potentially Fred Warner did that off of a punch, trying to punch the ball out on a collision, it sounded, when he had stopping him on a training camp play. They were showing videos of it. It could have potentially been on that play, but they didn't really mention that. But it's his to lose, I think, being McCaffrey's backup, and we know he's going to get a lot of touches, so it should be a pretty big year still for the Niners offense. And potentially adding Vita Vea. Vita Vea is on the news. They were saying like, the Niners can step in instead of sending him. What if the Rams end up getting him, just like the way the Rams got Myles Garrett and, Trent McDuffie and Jalen Watson and all of them, and how they left the last time they did that in 2021, they ended up winning the Super Bowl with Matthew Stafford, Von Miller, Odell Beckham Jr., and Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald, and all the likes of all of them. So they were trying to gear up for another ring potentially before Matt Stafford's retirement, and then, see what they can do in developing their young quarterback that they just drafted in the first round. So we will see how that goes. It's pretty interesting. I'm excited for the year. Training camp just started. I was, there on Sunday with my wife and my sister and my dad. This past Sunday it was pretty fun. Got to meet Patrick Willis and Upton Stout and some other young rookies. Got some signatures and everything. We had a great time over there. It was really fun. The people were nice. They changed it around a little bit within how the years in the past, how they did training camp, but you're still able to do more things. You're still able to enjoy and have a good time and see the players and watch them practice for a good hour and a half or two. So it was pretty cool. We'll get to some comments and then to some sponsors. I'll go in the next minute or so. And then I do see here from Safwan, thank you. We have Stanley here. Yeah, staying healthy it's hard, in the NFL, and it's pretty crazy, like injuries happen, the collisions that they have. It could be soft tissue injuries, or it can be collision, knee, legs, Achilles, arms, shoulders, concussions, you name it. Good thing, Stanley. And then, moving on, going on to the we'll be speaking more about into the NFL, what's going on. Let me mention some sponsors here, and we'll continue to keep going. So we do have Trailer Pros here, expert trailer repair and custom metal fabrication, reliable, mobile, built to last. You can reach out to 916-812-2513, trailerpros@gmail.com. They can help you out with any of your trailer needs. So please reach out to them if you have any questions regarding any repairs of trailers and stuff. And also for sale, you do have AJ and Michelle Chand, Real Estate and Loans. You can reach them out at 916-549-2425. They have their licensed broker number available and their email right in the comment section below. And in the description box, you should see them too if you guys want to reach out to them for any home needs. And then I'll also like to mention Giancarlo and Zena Carmona. They're licensed financial professionals, and they help individuals and families build generational wealth, limit debt, and protect their future through global financial impact. They build wealth being and financial freedom. They can help you create that. You can reach out to them. I do have their contacts right here, and they'll be in the description box below. So please reach out to them if you guys have any specific needs, okay? Then I do have also Mohammed Shiraan, LawPro Legal Services, Evictions, Disputes, 3-day and 30-day notices, residential, commercial, mobile home parks. He does. You can reach him out at 916-709-5518. It's mshiraan@yahoo.com. Please reach out to your any needs regarding LawPro or any helps with it is. So they were all the sponsors will be mentioned in the description box below. You guys could reach out to them and have any interaction if you want to reach out to them for any help and needs. But these people are great people. And then moving forward, about any other NFL news, as we do see, injuries are piling up with other teams. I know that Taysom Hill won't be back with the Saints, and then there's some contract disputes going on within Vita Vea and the Bucs, and then also with Baker Mayfield. He did speak to the media today, speaking about his frustration. He's probably like on another 1-year prove deal. I don't know with the Bucs, but he's turned into one of their saviors, or like their the quarterback over there, the guy to be the one in Tampa Bay. But they've had some playoff letdowns. Last year they didn't make the playoffs. They got beat by the Carolina Panthers in the NFC South on the last day of the season in the 2025 season. So they're hoping for a bounce back here. They did lose a lot of guys, like to some to retirement, like Levante David. Mike Evans went to the Niners, and potentially Vita Vea getting traded to. He's saying there was 4 teams he wanted to be traded for because he does have a no trade clause. There was the teams were the Niners for sure. There was the Raiders. When he grew up here, I think he grew up a Raider fan too. But even though he was growing up in the Bay Area, although they're in Vegas, it's or the Rams or the Chargers. So those are 4 potential teams that to really look at. It's one of those 4. It's either the California teams or it's going to be the Las Vegas Raiders. And I don't know, but they're saying that they have some other fits, other ways, in other areas where they have fits for him, like they were saying, like the New York Giants, the Cincinnati Bengals potentially. They were saying, because they did lose Dexter Lawrence to the Bengals, but the Bengals can continue to shore up their defense. The Giants are still rebuilding there and trying to build back their own core with John Harbaugh being hired there, which was a big hire, getting Malik Neighbors and Cam Scatabo and all of them back. So it's going to be pretty interesting to say the least to go from there. So we should see how things go in the NFL this year. I know everybody's been waiting. We got about a few Sundays away. Preseason should be coming up in the Hall of Fame game next week. So I'm sure there were some people saying that they were dying to even see, oh my God, I'd die to see a Jets and Browns game right now on a Thursday night. I was like, everyone would probably love to see that right now, right? But I mean, it's been a pretty safe to say the least. The World Cup kept a lot of people occupied. We do still have baseball season going on. So we should see how things continue to pile on. I won't keep this pod too long, guys, but I'm going to keep it on for you guys, see it, interact, get together, meet people, and keep things going. But there's a lot going on in the NFL world, so that's why I wanted to get to it. Like you're saying, is what Kirk Cousins is also doing in Vegas, trying to mentor Fernando Mendoza. So that should be another interesting thing that was going on. in the NFL. So, him winning a national title with Indiana, with that squad that they had, how they were beating everyone, went undefeated, and how his discipline, his work ethic, and his ability to do everything it's been second to none towards anything. So I think he's ended up going to being a pretty good quarterback in the league. It's just all depends on how you develop and how things go and how you continue to dissect film and learn defenses and how you have chemistry with your teammates and your head coach. So we should see how it goes. They're in a pretty tough division, within the Broncos. The Broncos did lose Dre Greenlaw back to the Niners. They did add Jalen Waddle from the Dolphins, but they still have some pit bulls on that defense, and they're going to be tough. The Chiefs getting Mahomes back, getting some guys back, drafting some guys as well, alongside Chris Jones on the D-line is going to be pretty safe to say the least, pretty cool to see too. They're always in the mix. They had a pretty down year last year after, losing the Super Bowl the year prior to the Philadelphia Eagles. So who knows? Kelsey's a little bit older. We should see it goes on from there. And then the Chargers, I do think the Chargers are still very talented. I want to see how Mike McDaniel does with Justin Herbert. That's going to be pretty good. He's going to get Joe Alt back and Rashawn Slater back for his tackles. So Justin Herbert should have geared up for a pretty big year with Jim Harbaugh and the crew. So the AFC West is tough. The NFC West is tough. The Seahawks are still good. The Detroit Lions are still good. The Packers are good. The Bears are good with Caleb Williams. There's some guys that were lost, including like David Montgomery going to the Texans. I think that would be a little pressure off of CJ Stroud in that because they did have a very good defense, probably the top defense in the league, if not second or third behind Seattle and themselves. So like you do have a pretty stout team there that you probably want to try to win with now, which is try to take some pressure off of, make life easier for CJ Stroud down up in that division with the Colts, and the Jags and the Titans and all of them. So the Texans do have a chance, but they do have a tough division within the Jags as well. We should see how that one goes too. Too early to tell, Stanley says, but any predictions on who you think will be a top contender? We're talking the NFL, right? So what I would think with the top contenders right now, who I would say is obviously you would have to probably keep at number one within the offseason. What they just did was probably the Los Angeles Rams, adding Myles Garrett, Allen Jalen Watson, shoring up their secondary, and also including adding Trent McDuffie, trading him from the Chiefs, and adding obviously the biggest of all was Myles Garrett from the Browns. So you'd still have Byron Young, Brendan Fiske, and you probably have potential, what's his name, coming back? Aaron Donald after a few years not playing. So you already have a scary defensive line with those two. And I know he hasn't played for a couple of years. He needs to get in football shape. He already looks great in body shape, like himself shape, but you guys still got to get into football shape, which is completely different from normal shape, right? Staying healthy just regardless. But if they pair that together, I wouldn't be wrong saying that the Rams, they should be the favorites, no question about it, and including in our division too, which is my NFC West rival, even over the Super Bowl champion Seahawks, right? They did lose Kenneth Walker, Boye Mafe, and Tariq Woolen, and some other guys, but they still have a great coach in Mike McDonald. And also with the good young defense, you still have Sam Darnold coming off for a good year, Jackson Smith and the Jigba is there, Cooper Kupp, Barner at tight end, and you still have Zach Charbonnet too, and then you drafted running back in Price in the first round, so it's going to be pretty interesting to say, but Seattle's still going to be good in my opinion. So there's three tough teams there, and then you have the Arizona Cardinals. They still rebuilding, but I like what they did in the draft, and getting Jeremiah Love and seeing what they're going to do from there. It's going to be pretty cool to say the least. I don't know how they're going to do things, but it may take a couple years for them to rebuild and get back up to steam again. Overall, I do like where they're going to be headed, but it's going to be a good year. And another thing with the NFL is we can have these early predictions, but you just never know because injuries always happen to big name players or good key cog players, the glues to the team. they always happen more than often not than baseball and the NBA or even soccer, to say the least. But injuries just always. Football is just, you need 53 men. You need good coaching. Schematics got to be on point. Offensively, defensively, including special teams as well. So it's hard, but that's why. And then in playoffs too, you don't have 7 games like you have in hockey, you have in baseball, you have in basketball. In football, in soccer, you usually just get one shot, right? So we should see how that goes. But you should have the Rams, you should have Seattle, I would say the least. You do have in the AFC, you do have the Broncos, the Patriots, the Chiefs. You would say there's the Chargers, the Broncos. Yeah, I did mention them. The Texans, the Ravens as well. And then in NFC, you would say you have the Rams, you have Bears, you have the Lions, you have the Niners, you have the Packers. You got Seattle, you have Rams, you got all these teams that potentially can be top contenders and can win it all. I did see you have another comment. Love it. Also bring Shaquille Mumtaz for future lives. He had some great takes. Yes, I did have him get on. I remember when I was first starting this pod. Yeah, definitely love to have him back on. Some good takes we had about the Lakers and everything. So I'll surely love to bring him back on. I'm probably going to try to have not only just another guest on, probably potentially maybe 2 or 3 guests more on there as well. Maybe I try to have, so we can have more segments and make it a little bit more pizzazz, a little bit more fun too, so we can keep bringing more things on. But definitely, for sure, love to have him back on. And then, yeah, moving forward, I know I'm just coasting through all these divisions in the NFL, what we're expecting. This is keynotes of what we're probably going to be expecting, into these teams, and seeing how things go. And then another thing was, with the offseason news was with Brandon Ayuk. I know you guys have been seeing all of the social media antics from him. He still needs to apply for reinstatement and to get back in the league. I know he's been calling out the NFLPA, the Niners, release me. He wants to go to the Commanders. The Commanders even told the reporters to refuse to even speak about his name. He did cost himself millions and millions of dollars if he just combined by things and just go through everything. But I guess he just refused to do that. And so this is hard, what's going to happen with him. So let's see what goes on. But if he shows up to camp, I think the Niners, the first thing what they're going to do is they're probably going to end up releasing him. So save a lot of money from there. They voided his guarantees last year too. So we should see what goes on after if he applies for reinstatement or if he ever thinks about coming back into the NFL. So we'll go from there. Anyways, I'll mention a few more sponsors here before we get to our next topic. Okay, I do have Ibnaez Wahid, broker associate. He's another realtor. Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices, elite real estate. You can reach him at 510-329-3927 and 916-667-3465. You can reach him right there at IBOhomes@gmail.com. He serves the Bay Area and also greater Sacramento too. And also, I'd like to mention another good friend of mine, which is Blaise Stanfield-Ellison. He's a realtor at Intero Real Estate Services, a Berkshire Hathaway affiliate, specializing in residential real estate across the Bay Area, helping clients buy, sell, and invest with confidence, care, and local expertise. You can reach him right there at 510-364-7083. He can help you out with any of your needs as well. And then a few more before I get into the topics. Okay. Rallysport Engineering, Subaru repair specialist, free estimates, 2015 Harbor Boulevard in Costa Mesa, California. You can call them at 949-548-0978. And then also at Rallysport Auto Spa, Premier Subaru detailing interior, exterior, clay bar. You can book them once again at 949-691-6239. Service at rallyAutospa.com. They not only do Subaru repairs, they do have a car wash, and then they also have auto sales, SubiGarage and auto sales, which is quality used Subarus, clean titles, great deals. You can reach them at 949-548-0987, and rseraul@gmail.com is the main guy you'd like to reach, or Shaquille Mumtaz, as Stanley mentioned earlier, as a guy you need to reach out to regarding these needs. Okay, moving on. So I think that really covers about what's really going on within, with like football talk, you would want to say, or the NFL. Um, we can definitely get over to the NBA and what we're probably expecting. There was some news that just recently went on. I don't know if it was last week or it was the week before that or a few days before that. LeBron James signing with the Philadelphia 76ers. I did know my brother-in-law mentioned it in my last pod. If you guys wanted to check my last live with him, he mentioned that Philadelphia was a potential team to go for, like, I think would be first on his list. And he ended up going there for a vet minimum of 2 years and $8 million. And he said this is his last decision, so he's probably going to end up retiring there, entering his 24th NBA season. So, LeBron's tenure in LA ended after about 8 or 9 years. It was safe to say the least. It was good. I think, he put up a lot of numbers, records. He did win the championship in 2020 in the bubble when the whole COVID outbreak was going on. You guys know how that went with everything in the world. So credit to him, and, a illustrious career, one of the all-time greats. Let's see what he does, especially in Philadelphia. What I think is, they have a very good team. They're in the East, and I was expecting, him to probably go back to the East, especially in the West being so tough, having the Oklahoma City Thunder getting healthy again with J-Dubs and AJ Mitchell, the Spurs, there's the Rockets there. You do have some other, I'm probably missing a few other teams. The Warriors are on the other older end, I would say. They need to make some moves for Stephen Curry, but we'll see what goes on, what they're going to do with him. I don't know what they're doing with Mike Dunleavy and everything. I know they did re-sign Al Horford, Draymond Green, Porzingis. I was expecting them to make a move, probably LeBron James ending up in the Warriors, everyone wanting to see him play with Steph and Draymond being a Clutch Sports, underneath the same agency with him. Made sense. But he ended up choosing Philadelphia with Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe, and Jaylen Brown, getting him trained there, and having Joel Embiid and himself. So this is probably one of the most skilled rosters he's going to be a part of. And everyone's expecting championship. You do have the Boston Celtics still there. You still do have the New York Knicks, the defending champs over there, with Brunson and them leading the way. So this is going to be, I think it was a big news for the whole NBA of LeBron making the news of him heading out to Philadelphia. So it'll be good. We have another comment. We have Shaq saying Grana Peli. And then also we do have more news. What's going to happen, I think, with the NBA also with the Warriors, what I did with the Excel, with who they drafted. He ended up being the Summer League, MVP, and also the Warriors winning the Summer League, which was pretty big. I think he's going to end up being a good draft pick, for them. I did like, that's one of the few picks I think Dunleavy's actually done that's good. But Joe Lacob has also expressed stuff about him thinking about moving forward into the future life after Stephen Curry. So I don't know how Steph Curry, they were saying like there were trade rumors, like packages they were making for him to go to the Spurs to pair him with Wemby, or with going to Boston, pairing him with Tatum, because now that Jaylen Brown has gone to the 76ers. I don't know. But then the thing is, that would be pretty interesting because, he's trying to get another championship before he also retires. He's turning he's about 37, 38 years old too. So I'm sure he's probably trying to win as much as he can. I know it's been kind of like hard for the last 3-4 years since they last won a championship in 2022 with the Warriors. You don't want to waste Steph Curry's prime and good years, or his end of good years like this. You want to end up having it spent really well and go really well. So he ends up having the best chance and best possibility to end up winning a championship. But it all depends on ownership and management and how they're going to handle it. I don't know if Bob Myers would have been the line of this, or even Jerry West, right? So how Jerry West got Kevin Durant with Bob Myers over here years ago, when that shook the league about 10 years ago, and the Warriors ended up becoming unbeatable when that happened. And then going back to back on the verge of going to 3-peat, but Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson getting hurt in that finals against the Toronto Raptors. So yeah, I think, regarding the champions of the New York Knicks, them winning after so many years, it's been about 52, 53 years, you would say. It's been a while, and they've been knocking on the door, and they finally got to go through it. Thibodeau was a great coach for them, but I was telling people, or like I was also thinking to myself, was if there was any year to win for the Knicks or reach the finals, it was going to be this year, because with Boston Tatum being hurt, Indiana had Halliburton hurt, Philadelphia had in and out hurt with Joel Embiid. It ended up working. I was like, if they stay healthy, they were in the Eastern Conference Finals the year before they lost to the Pacers in 6 games. They were healthy, and they added a few players, a few key cogs, like Landry Shamet and Jordan Clarkson and all of them and they added Mike Brown as the coach. I was like, this should uplift them probably to get to the finals. And they did. They were steamrolled everyone after having a slow start to the playoffs, being down 2-1 against the Atlanta Hawks. They ended up winning like 10, 11, 12 or 13, was it 12 or 13 straight games in the postseason, and they were like winning by margins of 20 points or more. And defensively, they were great, and Mike Brown was coaching them to its fittest, and that's why they ended up, winning the championship against the Spurs in just 5 games. And they were down in majority of those games, which was crazy. The Spurs just didn't know how to finish, it looked like. I think this is what's going to uplift Wemby moving forward to his next into his career. But I think eventually he's going to end up getting a championship, but it probably might be next year, probably could be the years after that. But he's very much talented and still very young, and still going to show the league why he's such a great player. So this is going to be good. This is going to be good. I think it's going to be good for him. It'll be a learning curve, but losing is not always good. You always want to end up being the team that wins and does everything. So we should see how that goes from there. The Lakers, on the other hand, I do like what they did in the offseason. They did sign a bunch of players. They did give Reeves the extension, getting Colin Sexton, Walker Kessler, Luka Doncic coming back. So they do have a very good team, a good, talented young team. They got much younger, which is what I think they needed to do. And this is now Luka's team. So they're going to run and build around him. And I think they're going to end up probably trading for someone again in the offseason or midseason time, depending on where the Lakers are at. But I do like their team and where they're at. They're going to be contending up in the West, probably top 5, 6 seed, see where they go from there. They still had a chance with LeBron and everything in his last years there too. But it was just tough going out with, going against the likes of the Oklahoma City Thunder and the San Antonio Spurs. So we should see what goes on from there within them. But it'll be pretty interesting, to say the least. I'm going to mention a few more sponsors, and then we're going to get into our next topic of the show. Turning dreams into reality, one event at a time. Let Events by Sabrina bring the magic to your next celebration. You can reach her out at 707-290-3595. You can reach her at sabrinabuck86@gmail.com. She gives a very godmother experience, Events by Sabrina, and Bay Area events, and she also does a majority of Sacramento as well. And then also, if you got old electronics, don't trash it, recycle it. We're on a mission to keep e-waste out of landfills. You can reach them out at 510-925-9919, info@y2krecycling.com, www.y2krecycling.com, hashtag Y2Krecycling, e-waste solutions, and recycle. Okay. And then one more to mention, DJ Red Warning Entertainment Group, DJ and LED wall, special effects, event production, lasers, LED bar, dance floor. Call them at 916-838-6679, www.djregalweddingset.com. You can reach out to Eric Lal. He's the guy to reach out to if you want anything for wedding, birthday events, whatever it could be. He's your guy to reach out to and look for your specific needs for all of this. So he's the one you want to reach out to. We have Charlie saying Lakers in 5. And then we have... oh, yeah, I remember Shannon Sharp saying that in his show about Lakers in 5. And then Kings in 6, we have Explore Nation RV. Oh, man. Yeah, the Kings get it. Speaking of that's another good team to get into, being a part of California and then, Western Conference, Warriors, Lakers, Kings, Clippers, you name it. I know they were trying to they did get rid of DeRozan and whatnot, or and trying to see what they're going to do with trying to buy out Zach LaVine, get him out of the, moves that they're trying to get younger within the guys who they did draft to at the top of the draft. I did like what they kind of did, but a lot of the fans of them are calling for Vivek to sell the team because he does not know how to run a basketball team, especially with their management, how they did. The thing about the Kings, what was really disappointing was in the 2022-2023 season, they were the 3 seed, and they were one of the most clutchest teams in the league, and they had one of the most highest efficiency ratings in NBA history in that year. The defense was not that good, but they were winning by just outgunning you and outrunning you, and how it was. Even they were led by a Mike Brown-led head coach. A Mike Brown head coach led team that just won the championship with the New York Knicks, mind you. And De'Aaron Fox was a point guard, and he was just in the finals going against Mike Brown, but he was a part of the Wemby and the San Antonio Spurs. Although he did not have a good finals, De'Aaron Fox, and they're looking to move forward from him and try to give Dylan Harper the reins to move forward. So let's see what goes on from there. But with the Kings, man, they do need a lot of trades, a lot of moves. They got to get younger. They did have Westbrooks. You still have Sabonis and Keegan Murray and the likes of Keon Ellis and all those other guys. But they got to work around that and see what they're going to do. So, the West is tough. That's another thing. If they were in the East, you can make moves here and there and see what goes on. Like you said, that's another reason why Giannis, I think, stayed in the East too and went to the Miami Heat, got traded to the Heat. Tyler Herro, Vasquez, and some other picks got moved. But, he's with Bam Adebayo, Andrew Wiggins, and he's in a pretty big market in where he wants to try to win in Miami. Where people were saying was there were a potential team, or even Boston was a team that Giannis was going to look at. But, there's some guys, like you said, they're trying to go to big market teams, all these superstars and everything, and trying to get their championship or accolades, as you say, to be a part of those big market teams so they can showcase what they are as a player, and they want to get paid more too. So I think that's another reason. Charles is Kings with the laughing emoji. Yeah, they have a lot of work to do. So let's see what they can do. They do need some moves, I think, and especially, I don't know about Doug Christie. I don't know if they fire him or if he's going to stay, they're going to give him another year, or if it doesn't work out early, they may potentially move on from him from there. So we'll see how it goes. All right, guys, I'm going to be wrapping the show up in a few. I just wanted to come on here, just give my takes of an update of what's going on within the podcast, how we're going to continue to grow the podcast with Crossover Sports Talk and Events, having more guests on. I'm probably going to have 2 or 3 more guests on a one show, get more segments, have more fun and games on here and everything, and keep interacting with people that are commenting, sharing, liking, and subscribing. It really supports the channel. Appreciate you guys always, checking in and always, being out there to support and doing everything. I just wanted to talk around, after the World Cup, as I had in my last one with my brother-in-law in the last episode. But I just wanted to, reiterate to you guys about what's going on in the NFL, what's going on in the NBA, and then what we're going to be expecting, into the preseason and this upcoming fall and the winter. So it's going to be fun. I'm really excited. I do expect a lot, but, I'm hoping – the Niners have a good year. Hopefully they can get a Super Bowl, but if they stay healthy and, things have to bounce their way. They do have a very talented roster. They do have a very good team. They're getting Fred. They're getting Bosa. They signed Debo back. Got Mike Evans. You drafted Stribling. You're going to have, your defensive guys, Romello Height and the likes of Osas Odigizua coming back. And signing some of the guys in the secondary like Nate Hobbs and Jack Jones. They may trade for a safety or sign another safety, or may trade for a Vita Vea that might plug up the lows in the lane and, put them over the top in a front 7 in the defense. And Raheem Morris leading the way, right? Now Robert Salas coaching the Tennessee Titans up in Tennessee. So it's gonna be fun to see, to say the least. So I'm excited. I hope you guys are all excited. We're going to have more shows. We're going to have more episodes. Keep liking and subscribing and sharing to all your friends and family. I really appreciate you guys. And that'll do it. Thank you guys so much. Bye-bye.